Welcome. Today we're doing a flight from Orenji to Perth. Today I'm going to do a flight trying to show you every procedure that you should do for a flight like this in a small aircraft. So your first truck ride, you're going to be using one of the Cessnas, either the 172, the 182, or the Caravan. I'm going to be using the Caravan today because just got a rework and I really like how it looks. All right, now that you've selected your plane, you can see I'm getting in it here. You want to start by changing the mode to advanced, and then you can start up the engine by pressing E. Now generally the first thing you'd want to do is contact tower, but since no one's working at tower, we're not going to do that today. I will talk about it in a minute though. First thing I'm going to do is start our pushback. So for our pushback, you want to press P, add some thrust, and for our standards, you want to keep the wheels one main wheel on the left side, one main wheel on the right side of the yellow stripe. Those are the back wheels. If you come to a curve like this, it's okay to just cut the corner. Once you're going forward again, you want to keep it below 30% thrust and continue taxiing to the runway. Alright, once you've reached the runway, you want to make sure you're holding short of that yellow line there. That is a hold short line. The solid yellow line means you cannot cross it. So you cannot cross from this side, but you can cross if you're on the runway without a clearance. So I guess now I'll talk about ATC. Generally you'd want to call up tower and you want to say something along the lines of Perth tower, or Perth ground we could say. But let's do Perth tower, and then you'd want to say our call sign, which for now I'll just say Cessna Caravan. So Perth tower, Cessna Caravan, you want to say where you are, holding short of runway 13 on Alpha 10, I believe that says. And then you'd want to say your intentions, which is ready to enter the runway and depart to the east, which is what we'll be doing today, heading to Perth. Once you're cleared, you can pull out onto the runway and get ready to depart. It's important to note that this part of the runway with these arrows, this can be used for taxiing, which is what we're doing right now, and it also can be used to take off. So you don't have to pull all the way up into the runway, but it cannot be used for landing. Once you're ready for takeoff, you can go to 100% thrust and keep the nose slightly above the horizon with the cursor. Slightly above the horizon so you can see when you start to take off. There we go. We want to keep it as straight as we can, and since we're in advance we can use A and D to control the rudder, which will help keep us straight. Now we want to pull up and we want the horizon to go just about to the top of our flight displays. And this is what it should look like. We're pretty in line with the runway, and that's about the angle we should be climbing out. You can see the runway, or the horizon cuts just through the top of the flight displays. This is a good angle. Now I started to turn out there, and once you're above about 700 feet, you can start to turn like that, and we're turning towards Perth, so everything looks good. Now, general rule of thumb is when you're climbing to fly across country, you want to remember that odd pilots fly east. So we're flying east right now, so we want to climb to an odd number, like 3,000 feet, 5,000 feet, and then add additional 500 feet to it. So we're going to climb to 3,500 feet. Now if you were flying west, you would do 4,500, 6,500, so on. So we're going to climb to 3,500 feet. We're continuing east. And once we get to our altitude, we can press R to help us level off. Now we also want to remember to decrease our thrust slightly, because we don't need to be burning that much fuel for just a cruise like this. So I'm a little below 90 here, and we're continuing towards Perth. You can see I switched my chart over to Perth's chart, and this is the this is the airfield that we're looking at. Now when we're coming into land at Perth, we do want to contact the tower first, just like we did, well, we simulated doing at Tokyo. We want to say something along the lines of this. Perth Tower, this is Cessna Caravan. We're about 10 miles to the northeast, which, by the way, we're not right now. I think we're a little further than that, so we wouldn't make the radio call just yet. And I don't think we'd be in their terminal radar, so they wouldn't see us anyways. We'd want to make it a little closer, but anyways. Perth Tower, this is Cessna Caravan, about 10 miles to the northeast, and we're inbound to land. That tells them where we are, who we are, and what our intentions are. Now we're getting a little closer, and for this simulation, I thought it would be fun to enter a downwind for runway 33. Now if you don't know what that is, just continue watching the video and it will become self-explanatory pretty much. Basically, we're going to fly down the right side of runway 15 here, and then we're going to do a 180-degree turn and land on runway 33. You can see the airport chart, it might make sense, and I will pull up a picture here to show you as well. Alright, here's a quick picture. You can see downwind is colored in green, base is colored in red, and final is colored in blue. Those are the three legs of the traffic pattern, and that will be what we're flying today when we fly into runway 33. Alright, now a little while ago we started our descent, and we want to descend down to 1,000 feet to enter this traffic pattern. Generally, you want to be 1,000 feet above the airport, so this one's right about at sea level, so 1,000 feet will do, and we're going to enter that green line to enter the downwind for runway 33. Alright, now we are on the downwind for runway 33. You can see that's going to be runway 15 to our left, and we're just about at the end of runway 11, if that makes sense. Now generally, when flying a downwind, you want to be at 1,000 feet, and you want the strut of the airplane to come up to about halfway to where the runway is. So I'm going to look out the left side of the window here, and you can see it's kind of hard to see the strut, so I'm kind of using this window as my guide here, and you can see the runway is about halfway up and down the window. And as the strut comes back there, you can kind of see it's about halfway. So this is about how far away you want to be, and this is the elevation, so we're looking good for our approach here. As we get to the end of the runway, we can start decreasing our power, and we can start descending a little bit, as well as adding our first degree of flaps. Flaps generally go in 10-degree increments for a small aircraft like this. So we just added 10 degrees of flaps, which will help us get down a little faster and help us slow us down a little bit. Generally, you don't want to do them unless you are below 110 knots, so keep that in mind. Now I'm turning for the base leg, which was the red line in the picture I showed earlier. And you can start to see those VASI lights, or the PAPI lights, I'm not really sure, on the left side there. Kind of the same thing. It is 4 white lights at this point, which means we are high of our approach path, which makes sense. We're not on final yet. We added our second degree of flaps, and you can see here they should start to turn red slowly. Now, those lights are primarily for larger aircraft, so we don't have to use them to a T in this aircraft, and they do go to the 1,000 footers there, which are those thicker white lines. So if we want to land earlier, that's not the same approach path. So you can use them as a guide, but they are not necessary. Now we're on final. We added 3 degrees of flaps, so we're on final 30 degrees. We want to make sure we're clear to land from tower. And now we're coming down. And as we touch down, we want to, you can see here, we start to slow down. We're at our landing speed. We want to look down the end of the runway. We want to keep the nose up. Keep the nose up. There's a touchdown. You can barely even see it. start to slow down. We took all of our power out. Came to a full stall there, and I'm going to start pulling off here. Now you can see I came a little off the yellow line there, but that is okay for this application. Just when you're taxiing, try and stay one wheel on the left side, one wheel on the right side of the yellow line. Alright, now we're coming to a full stop. We are clear of the runway. We generally make a radio call saying something along the lines of Perth Tower, this is Cessna Caravan. We are off runway 33, and I cannot see where we are right now, but I believe it's Delta 7. So we'd say off runway 33 at Delta 7, requesting taxi to parking. And then they reply back with our taxi instructions, and we follow them. Of course, this time I didn't have an ATC, so that's just a little information for you there. But we can also start to clean up the airplane, which involves putting our flaps back to 0. And now we're simply going to taxi over and park. Now I'm parking at gate 9 here. I guess it's not a gate, but we'll call it spot 9 here. Pulling in. And when we park, we want to get our nose close to the end of that yellow line here. So you can see we're pretty much there. Not too strict on that, but that's what you want to look for there. And that's our entire flight done. I'm going to zoom in here and just shut the airplane down, and that is a flight from Orangi to Perth in Pilot Training Flight Simulator.